Hey, everybody, it's yours truly, the Iceman, Jamie Dundee, and you're listening to Wolfie D's Live and in Color, because don't diss the man or we'll bum rush your mother.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D. This is me, your host, Jimmy Street, and here we are again one more time with Wolfie D. Wolfie D, how you doing today, brother?
What's going on, Jimmy? You all right?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Just living the dream, or trying to, trying to be more like you.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Well, what's really cool is I wanted to kind of start this off by saying, the response to the first episode has been awesome. We've really enjoyed all the people that have not only downloaded, listened, followed, liked everything that we've done so far, and have let us know about it. That's been a big thing for us to kind of know we're doing something right. How does it feel, man? How does it feel to kind of know that this process is going, and how do you feel about it?
I love it, man. I think it's something, if nothing else, it's kind of fun to reminisce and talk about it. And, for the people that, I realize there's people out there that enjoy listening to the old stories and enjoy the old days and things like that. And, if I can give them some entertainment for, an hour a week or whatever, then, let's do it, man. Yeah. I love it.
I think you and I both agree the old days are better, and I hate to sound like that guy, the old guy said it was better in the old days, but we know it was. One thing,
and it's a thing where I think I would say that I would have said that probably 5-10 years ago, and yes, to me it's better, but I think the reality of it is it's just different. And it's not like if I was a kid right now, I don't know that I would like it. You know what I'm saying? So I think everybody's different. Right. I think the formula is somewhat the same. I always say that. The formula is usually the same, but there's some stuff that just, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What's going on here? I think you spoke about last week the lack of selling, and you guys, you guys just know how to make somebody absolutely think you were dying, and the old Ricky Morton way of selling things, and.
Absolutely.
And nowadays these guys, and by the way, we're going to introduce a new segment near the end of the show here called Current Affairs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Wolfie, who admittedly does not pay attention to anything current other than random things that pop up. And I'm going to,
on Facebook,
ask him, I'm just going to ask your opinion on what you thought of it, or if you even heard of it, and kind of just, I think it'll be a fun part of the episode to kind of, let people know. But other than that, one thing that, we kind of wanted to talk about now is this one is going to be entitled The Rise of PG-13. And so PG-13, as everyone knows, was Wolfie and JC Ice, and they really took that team everywhere, from Mexico, literally everywhere. So every federation that was around at the time literally took it everywhere. But what I want to start is at that very beginning, and we'll go through some times of your 16-time tag champs. So
let me tell a funny story on that, Jimmy, real quick.
Yeah, please do.
Jamie, we, at the beginning of our career, had just got on USWA, because we're kind of talking about that time period right now. We went to a town in Shelbyville, Kentucky. It was where we started, if you remember me telling you that on the last one.
I do.
And this guy comes up to me, and Jamie was standing next to me, and, we had been on TV for, I don't know, a few months, something like that or whatever. So to them, this is PG-13. That's the old bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And so the guy, there's a battle roll at the end of the night, and somewhere randomly this guy walks up to me and he says, "What's your record in the battle roll?" I thought, oh my God. And then the same exact guy, maybe it was the same guy, but this is a good story, and I wish you could see my face to tell it, because this guy comes up to me and he goes, so this is in, 93, something like that. He comes up to me, he goes, I go to him. We're fixing to go to the ring, and they're horrible. I know they're going to be horrible, right? And I said, "Hey, man, Just, cause, I mean, I was green too. We were the heels, and I'm going to give this guy a chance. And I said,
yeah.
Brother, you got any spots? And he goes, nope. I looked at Jamie. I didn't know what to think. And I said, so you're telling me you ain't got no spots? And I swear to God, this dude looks at his arms. He goes, nope. Swear to God, true story. That's when I knew we were in for a rough match. As far as trying to, make this worth of shit. Yeah, okay, shit like that. All right, back to where we were.
So that's hilarious. I can imagine your dismay of essentially this guy. Is he a cheetah? he's thinking, I want to know if he's got spots on his body. Give me a break. That's how ignorant some of these people that get in business are. Oh my gosh, that is a great story. I can't believe. Now that is a Wolfie D exclusive right there, ladies and gentlemen. So to start this process, like I said, 1,600 time tag champs. But starting out here, you basically, so the storyline goes is Jamie had turned on his dad, Bill, storyline-wise, and that is kind of around the time of the forming of that. Now, I think you straightened me out on that a little bit. He had turned on, you guys had turned on someone else. What's the story there?
Okay, so we're talking about going into USWA. But forming the team happened in the Outlaws. That's what independents used to be called, the Outlaws.
Yes, sir.
So if we formed that there, boom, boom, boom. So one night we're on a outlaw show in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. Okay. Jeff Jarrett was there. Pistol Pez Watley, some people we ain't been around. Jamie knew them all because he grew up with them. You know what I'm saying? His dad,
Right.
He grew up, he was a kid around all of them. So Jamie obviously knew Jeff, and, we knew we kind of had a good thing going with the gimmick. And Jamie had one of those big VHS recorders, and he said, Jeff, film this match, because I think we worked Brickhouse and somebody else, which we knew was going to be pretty good. So believe it or not, Jeff said, okay. And Jeff actually stood outside Beaver Dam, Kentucky's, outlaw show dressing room and held a video camera and filmed our match for us. And yeah, I know. At that time, especially. And so we come back and he's like, that was good. And Jamie pulls the tape out of it. He says, go take that to your dad. Just like, all right. So Jerry is the booker in USWA. And so I forget who's trying to call who's trying to do what. Believe it or not, Bill was actually trying to block us from getting a job there. That's a whole other story.
Okay.
But Jeff showed it to his dad. His dad loved it. So we kept trying to schedule an appointment. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of where Jerry lived in Hendersonville, up on top of a hill. Right. Big mansion. It was nice. And that was where the office was. Right. So we're trying to get an appointment to get there. The first week we show up, we actually pull in the driveway, and Jerry blew us off. He never came to the door, called us later and said, sorry guys, I'm sick, blah, blah, blah. So like, fuck, okay. And Jamie said, we ain't quitting. So that's what he said to me. Yeah. We finally get another one, I don't know, like a week later. Pull up to the mansion, and Jamie said, before we go in, he said, I'm just telling you, if we make him laugh, we got a job. I'm like, all right, because that was kind of our early edition of PG-13, was a lot of comedy and little heels screwing up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the look was something unique that nobody had done yet. So totally. And I say that in proudness when I say other people that have copied us after us. But anyway, so too cool, public enemy. We can go on. Anyway, so we go in his office. You go right into it, and he said, "All right, boys." And he's got a red nose still from where he's been so sick and blowing it all the time and everything. And he says, "Go in that room right there." And we had our stuff with us. We had the hubcap and everything. And he said, well, put this gimmick on. Let me see it. And so we go in there and we change clothes in a room next to it. Dude, we had to walk across. There was a ballroom in there. And I was 18 years old, dude. I was like blown away. So we come back in his office with the gimmick on, hat's crooked, sunglasses on, hubcap around the neck, tennis shoes. we stand there and we just look at him, and if you have ever seen Jerry on some of his commentary and thing, just like been around him, he'll pause for a long time sometimes, and then he'll spit in that cup.
Yeah.
And he started giggling. He said, "I love it." So at that moment, we knew, okay, we got a job. We didn't know, old school 80s and stuff. They used to play the music videos of the wrestlers before they would show up for like a month, and then they'd show up and you'd have that hype. He said, "I want you guys to write a rap, and we're going to film a rap video." And see, at that time, me and Jamie we were just being thugs. We weren't rappers. I liked rap, and if you know Jamie, Jamie's not a rapper, know. So in my mind, I'm thinking, this is going to be so challenging. But anyway, so I write this rap. We film the video. The first one was okay. I look back on it now and I'm like, God, that's awful. But it was. 4 weeks worth, 2 different raps, 4 weeks before we ever came on TV. And so that's how much he liked the gimmick and wanted to get it over. And that's how that started. There was never, at that point in time, this is Jamie Dundee, Bill's son. We didn't mention it. It was just one of those things ignored. Yeah. We were just 2 dudes from the hood, and we were heels and little first, second, third match guys, and happy as hell to be there, and that's what that was.
Yeah. Brother, I just got chill bumps because 2 things I just realized here. JEFF JARRETT was holding a camera. And he was a split second away from that character to it being in the Fed because not only, I guess Mouth of the South opened the door for Memphis up there, but, Lawler had been a mainstay. But really in 92, Lawler goes to WWF, and he's working there. And also
1993, he was back and forth because that's the thing, we lost him and Jeff in the territory, and that everybody thought, oh, my God, we ain't got Jeff, we ain't got Lawler, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing you just said. And then also the idea that you guys walk out of basically in a mansion, you walk out with the whole gimmick. And her mind spinning, saying this could either be amazing or we could be crazy and we can make him heel. I mean, I can just imagine he's seeing all the potential in these 2 young guys. First of all, JC Ice, at the time, Jamie was like a 19-year veteran because he had been there since he was a kid, and being Bill's son, and then you getting to take from that, you're the up-and-coming, partner that you're just like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, trained right, brought in the business correct, but at the same time, you're like still pretty green right here, I would almost say.
Oh, super duper.
Yeah, and then at the same time, he's seeing some money in you guys. So 2 things got me chill bumps there, and I had to go back to that. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. And I don't want to cut you off there, but, around this time, you guys had the chance of being around one of what I would consider honestly, in my opinion, one of the greatest announcers of all time, Lance Russell.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any cool stories about when Lance first saw you guys? How did he react? How did he?
Man, I can just say that as far as that goes, like, I did not know Lance on a personal level. I only saw him at TV or only saw him at the Coliseum. He wasn't one to come really talk to you before your match or anything like that. I mean, he was Lance Russell. You know what I'm saying?
He was all professions,
and he was my favorite growing up, and to have him comment in my match, oh my God, really? That was another thing that was just like incredible to me. There were so many incredible moments right there. Being on Memphis TV for the first time was a flash. I mean, I've seen the match, but at that point it was like 30 seconds long, and it really wasn't. But it was like, and then I did my first interview, and I had my back to the camera. I got chewed out for that, but they knew I was green and everything. Just little things like that, man. But yeah, I mean, having Lance Russell commentate your matches, and then later as we progressed, because he went away for a little bit right there, and then Randy got him to come back, and that's when we had some of the big feuds where he was really involved. And so then that was even better. But just being there at that point for me was like, wow. And
for real, it had to be, man, because not only did you grow up on this TV, this is to me like me getting to stand beside Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and the Midnight Express. That to me, so just to give you a comparison, you were doing it when you were 18, 17, 18, and your mind in a way, you had to be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm here. I shot through the minor leagues, and I'm here at the majors, and I'm going to prove myself. And Jamie's over here, like I said, an 18-year pro in his time, you know, from his diapers, basically. And, you know, so to start off, I'm going to also kind of work in your tag team championships here. Now, again, we're going to clear up some of this stuff because, as usual, the internet is wrong on some things. But it shows in 93, you all beat Brian Christopher. Exactly, right? Brian Christopher in a handicap match. Now, was that with Jeff, and Jeff had left for the WWF at that point? Is that?
Man, I honestly, I don't remember why that happened or what the even, because I promise you, it was I know that match was on TV, and I think they were the tag champs, and we were still the undercard guys. And we had the midget with us at that point too. I remember that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah.
And some kind of way, one of them was hurt. I don't remember which one, but we were able to 2.5 on 1 get the tag team titles. And then I'm pretty sure that Monday night we lost them. And I don't remember who that was to, because that wasn't like, I don't know. I think I knew that was just, we were pawns in the title thing. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Now, before the win against Brian, and let me just state this, okay? Let it be said for history. I personally think that Brian Christopher is honestly one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. And I will say it. You know, he could have been as big as Shawn Michaels, in my personal opinion, because, first of all, he had all the charisma. And honestly, and it was smart that he didn't say Brian Lawler. I know he went to that in the early days of TNA, but Brian Christopher was smart because, and I know there's things with his dad, and we're not a Brian Christopher episode. We will have one in the future. But to me, and I just wanted to state that as my personal opinion, and it's good to hear that you agree because he's such a great wrestler.
Man, I used to, me and Brian had great matches. I mean, throughout the years. I mean, throughout the years, together against each other. I always loved working Brian, man. At first, I don't think he trusted me. He was more of the veteran. I don't think he trusted me. Sure. But then I think it's kind of one of those, respect type of deals where he's like, okay, this dude can go. So we ended up having better matches once he'd actually let me put my input. When we first started wrestling, I wasn't allowed to say shit. That's just the guy I used to be. But then when he figured out he's got good ideas and he can go, and then that's when, you know, it got a lot better with that and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, he's one of those guys, and you actually, I think, turned into that. You could work with a broomstick as well. He's one of those guys that could do that. So 93, you win the titles. Brian Christopher in a handicap match, or Jeff, we're not 100% there, but one of them were hurt. And then you lose the titles, and then boom. Tell me what happens.
Let's see. We still were having a bit of a run at we were still undercard tag team. Like I said, we had the midgets. Then we started working with Danny Davis and Ken Wayne as the American Eagles, and they had a midget as well, Roger. So we were doing this loop with, and boy, man, like you couldn't work the Outlaws back then. Okay. So just because we were on TV, we had to work where we were booked, and you were booked basically 6 nights a week. If you worked for Outlaws, you got fired. There was no, let me get some exposure and then let me go get paid on this show over here. And that wasn't like it is now, but still, you couldn't do that. Right. So you had to work the infamous Buddy Wayne Towns. And Buddy was killing us, man. It would be me and Danny first, Jamie and Kenny second. And Buddy wouldn't book more than 5 matches. And those were usually on Thursday, Friday nights in some BFE town, man. And you wouldn't make no money. You knew it going there. The house probably wasn't going to be any good. At any rate, though. So first, second, and then third match would be probably maybe the mixed tag with the midgets, and then he would have possibly Lawler or somebody on top or something like that. But, I mean, he raped us, and the payoffs were awful, and he hated us at the same time. That's the thing. He hated us. But we walked out on him one night. I got a couple of Buddy Wayne stories, but this was when we were champs, though, and we were kind of getting that first push. So a little bit of timeline difference here, but it's a funny story. We come in, and there was a guy he was a bobsledder from the Olympic team that WWE had in their training program. I cannot remember his name. There was also a big, huge muscle guy named Max Muscle, you know, and so they were a tag team, and he had us booked against them on a Friday night. Now, you know, Memphis did TV on a Saturday morning. So this Friday night in this bumfuck town, man, he comes to us and he tells us the finish. And he says, you know, something about, I don't remember exactly how it went, but something, Jamie was going to have him in Boston Crab, and Brothers were going to hit him with the chain, and they were going to beat us 1, 2, 3 for the titles. And, you know, TV is your storyline. You know, that's not how that worked. You know, Buddy couldn't just show up and say, well, I'll strip him of the titles, change the whole TV in the morning. Hell no. So and me and Jamie were still at that point. We were a little bit green. If it would have been today, we would have immediately said, "Go fuck yourself." But so we went back and we kind of sat together and we said, "Is he ribbing?" I said, "You know him better than I do." I said, "I don't think so." But Jamie said, "I don't think he's ribbing." I said, "Well, Jamie, we can't do that, man. We in the morning we're working Tommy and Doug in this big angle." And so we go to Buddy, and I'll never forget, he's standing there, because Buddy's thing was he'd make his money at the concession stand, like the kind of brownie promoters. Anyway, he had 2 bags of popcorn, 1 in each hand. And we said, "Buddy, we can't do that finish." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Buddy, we've got these titles. We can't show up to TV getting beat here." He said, "Dang, can I ask you a question?" Jamie said, "What?" And he said, "Do you think these people are going to believe that you 2 little motherfuckers can beat those 2 big athletic men out there?" Jamie, on point, just looked at Buddy. He said, "I tell you what they well believe is that we ain't fucking wrestling tonight." Fucking Buddy took that popcorn. I can see the visual. He threw that popcorn up in the air and slammed it on the ground. He said, "You goddamn prima donna son of a bitches." And he walked out of the room. We grabbed our bags and we left. And did we get in trouble? No. That's how much you hated us.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, you know, that you stood by what you had to stand by, because you knew you would be in more trouble if you did, you know. And
he was trying to take advantage of us. That's all. Exactly.
That is a great story. You know, I can't wait for more of these. Honestly, I want to do it all right now, but I know we've got future episodes for these fine folks out here. So what was the thing about Mexico in '93? Tell me a little bit about that.
94 was actually Mexico, early 94.
Okay, early 94.
A guy named Tiger Mike Anthony from Canada, he's passed. He came into Memphis. We worked a little bit with him and Jeff Gaylord, and still kind of mid-card stuff or whatever. But Mike was good, and Mike had been to Mexico already. Mike's family owned oil companies up in Canada, and he had all this money. He didn't have to get paid. He could just get his parents to send him money all the time. And seriously, that's what he did. He went to a whole bunch of different places, dude, around the world. I mean, he was a good wrestler, but he wasn't really making any money or making a name for himself. But it's because, hey, Mom, can y'all send me $1,000? You know, shit like that. Yeah. I mean, just unlimited money. So anyway, when we got fired in early 94, because we drove, and this is all going to create more stories, we drove a 78 Thunderbird that had a rusted out roof on it. And when it rained, I'd have to scoot. Jamie usually drove. I'd have to scoot over in the middle of the bucket seat, and we'd have to look like it was a couple going down the road, because it would be pouring in on the other side. We can't find those record tires where they would put the strip in the middle of a bad tire. Yeah. Something like that. They were cheap as shit, and we kept blowing out tires. We'd be late. We'd be this, we'd be that. And by that time, kind of the newness to Jarrett had kind of wore off. Right. And he was getting sick of it. But we could, it was a legit shoot. Hell, Scotty Flamingo was in the territory, Raven, and he was riding with us one day. Somebody blew out. He had to help us push it over the 126 exit on I-40 over to a truck stop to get it fixed. I mean, this was legit stuff. We weren't lying. Right. And so anyway, finally one night we blew out, and it was just a point where we couldn't even make it, man. So Jerry parted ways with us. Mike said, "I'm going to Mexico." Jamie said, "Take us with you." Mike said, okay. So we went to Mexico. We made zero money down there. Mike's family basically paid for us to have a vacation down there is all it was. But it was so much fun. We were in the heart of Mexico City. We were going to these. And let me tell you, the first bump that I ever took in Mexico hurt like hell. Those rings were not American rings. You know, things have changed now where it's kind of all universal. That's why, if you look back in those days, man, AAA, they take those rolling bumps. Because that shit's like concrete, brother. And I took an American hip toss right off the bat, and I was like, fuck. But anyway, we had fun with that, man. And Jamie stayed a little longer than I did, and then I came back to Memphis.
Tell me a little bit about Mexico. Now, I've heard that, America works from the left. Is it Mexico works from the right? Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, in these days, like I said, there's been so much crossover beginning in the middle, late 90s. But yes, back then it was all right-handed. It was all 6-man tags, best 2 out of 3 falls. Nobody sold nothing. You just go. And yeah. I mean, it was an awesome experience. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about me and Jamie were so lucky coming up. We got to experience so much that the guys today don't get to, man. They get to go to these outlaw shows, and it's like the blind leading the blind, and I don't want to offend any guys, but that just is what it is. Every night I'm working with guys who've been in business for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And getting taught stuff and learning all the way. And no disrespect to anyone else either, Wolfie, but I remember when we first met, not to bring up this again, but you were sitting by yourself and I was talking to you just because I was like starstruck and wanted to talk to you. But at the same time, none of the other wrestlers were really talking to you. And it blew my mind. They're over there going over their match. And I'm like, you know what? This dude is sitting here. Why aren't they just saying, hey, what do you think? And you never really showed frustration like that. But it blew my mind that you weren't being taken advantage of. I mean, they would bring other guys in. Like, I remember Shane Douglas came into Saw just to sign some gimmicks and stuff, and he was in the back, and they were all around him. But it was just weird, man. I can explain that. I can explain that to you. When you start in a certain area, like, I started in Nashville. I started in Shelbyville. That little area right there.
Sure.
There's going to be some guys that are jealous as fuck. And there's going to be other ones that are not, but they've also been around you for how many ever years. So
fair enough, right?
There's a newness that wears off. I'm not the new toy anymore. Those guys come in, they've been, and they're marks for them. They've been watching them on TV, but I was, that's just Whoopi, or man, motherfucker, I should have been in that spot. I'm better than him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and there's probably guys that did that. Anyway, I do know what you're saying, and that makes total sense.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
Hey folks, to get your official Live and in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to prowrestlingtees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
So Mexico, then you come back, and there's these two guys, these wrecking shops that are running through the Memphis tag scene right now. Why don't you tell me a little bit about those guys?
The Eliminators, Perry Saturn and John Cronus, man. Two of the most athletic, strong dudes, made huge names for themselves in ECW after this point. When I came back, like I said, I came back a little before Jamie. Eliminators were there in Memphis. Randy had took over the booking. The houses were better than they were when we left for whatever reason, and it had nothing to do with us because we were lower to mid card. It had nothing to do with us. But for some reason, the stuff was catching on. Eliminators were over, man. They had heat. You know, people believed them because let me tell you, after all the matches I've had with them, I believe them too. Perry Saturn is one of the stiffest people I've ever wrestled in my life. And John Cronus was one of the most athletic dudes to be his build and size. Right. So anyway, I come back and it's Memphis. Me and a guy named Spike Huber were supposed to wrestle them in the title match in Memphis. And I'm pretty sure that Spike was hurt for a shoot, and we had to get somebody to replace him. Well, I mean, this was a stars align fate type thing. Jamie came back from Mexico, I don't know, like the week before or whatever, and we kind of knew it wasn't like it happened that night. You know what I'm saying? We kind of knew the week before that this is what we were going to do. We just kayfabed it. So anyway, I go to the ring. Hey, we're going to kick, you know, they're telling me they're going to kill me because I don't have a partner and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They hit that music of Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby, and that place went nuts, man. That place went nuts because, I mean, when I came back, it was one thing, you know, but when you're a tag team like that, they really like to see you together. You know?
It's like, you know, you don't want to see Ricky without Robert, Hawk without
right.
I mean, you want to see them together, and that makes sense, you know?
Yeah. So the place goes nuts. Great match. They put us over. Nice sunset flip with a hubcap finish, and man, it was that gives me chill bumps because that was the start of us not being mid-carders anymore. That was okay. These guys got something going here that these people like.
Yeah.
So
came back with a little of that
on for a little bit, and I'm telling you, man, they beat the bejesus out of. They were fresh out of Japan. I don't know if I said that a minute ago. Fresh out of Japan, where it was, you know, a lot stiffer over there, especially in that day and age. But they were beating the dog shit out of it, man. I mean, literally, it was like, Randy, get us out of this. And because we worked them for a long time, long enough for the people to go, these little motherfuckers are tough for taking this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then a few more teams after that came in and out. No, I don't want to say no significant because the guys that did come out, I respect very well.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't that magnitude, and it wasn't what was fixing to happen. Right. So let's see here. And
make it through 94.
Yeah. So I know Jamie went back to Mexico. Okay, so the Tommy and Doug angle starts after that. And this can be a long, long conversation here. God, road stories, even before where we were. That's the thing that's hard about this, Jimmy, is we could get into so many sub-levels here. It's just, it's hard to keep track. I want. But
yeah, and I think that's what the people want from what I'm seeing, you know. So, you know, on our Facebook, Twitter, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, podcast, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything, we want to see this. As fans of you, we want to see this. Yeah. One of the things, I don't want to go into 95 without bringing up that you got a call from somebody, little dirty guy. He had a big old mustache. I think you got a call from Dirty Dutch at some point in 94.
Yeah, and that was, let me think. Okay, so we're to 94. There was I'm thinking Tommy and Doug started, maybe so, but we'll just go there. So in November of 94, Dutch calls me. He's booking Puerto Rico, and he wants to bring me and Jamie down there. He had worked with me and Jamie in Memphis in those first little bit before we got the kind of push and whatnot. And so everybody knew Puerto Rico was kind of where the territories would send you to kind of learn, you know, because they had a schedule like Memphis did where we worked many nights a week, stuff like that. No other place had that at that time anymore. You know, it used to be like that all the time, but then nobody else had that unless you worked for Vince. So I was like, well, yeah, but the thing was, man, the reluctancy was They killed Bruiser Brody there. There's a story about the Batten twins there. There's just stories of, it's a bad place, for wrestlers. And then also they were known for ripping you off and not paying you and shit like that. So, and so anyway, we make it down there. Dutch, he really liked us. He really did. And we were in some good situations, not main event situations, but good situations. He didn't like bring us down as jobbers or nothing like that. And actually Mike Anthony was down there with us again. And we worked him a lot.
Okay.
But anyway, there was one night, it was a TV taping on the other side of the island. And, Dutch, and you got to remember, in a lot of these towns back then, man, dressing rooms weren't connected. It was bad guys in one, good guys in another, man. That shit didn't start till mid-90s, really, in a lot of places. So the referee could go back and forth, give you stuff, whatever. So Dutch told us before we went out there, we were heels, and he said, I want to get you guys over. He said, I'm putting you in kind of like their version of job guys. They weren't, stars or whatever. One of them was a big Puerto Rican dude. One of them was a little Japanese guy. Yeah. And Dutch said, I don't want you to give them nothing. He said, I want you to get over. Okay, so if you were to tell me that today or even, 10 years ago, I would know exactly what that meant. Then I kind of knew what it meant. Yeah. So we go out there and I think me and the big guy locked up first, and we're kind of going back and forth a little bit. I mean, I'm not doing a ton of big stuff to him, but I'm not letting him do anything. But then he starts taking stuff and doing this, and not like stretching me and not shooting, none of that. It was just I was giving him too much. And then we got the little Japanese guy in there and whatnot, and finished the match, finished it strong. So we get back from the ring, and Dutch is pissed. What the fuck? He said, I told you not to give him a fucking thing. He said, how do you want me to get you over if you're sitting out here selling to these guys? That ain't shit. And I'm like, fuck, man. I thought, if you wanted to have beat someone, I was always kind of taught that too. If you don't give them nothing, who the hell did you beat? But anyway. Yeah, who did you beat? Right. So then I think like as a rib, he booked us the very next TV against the same two guys, and I knew that almost for the whole week coming up. So I'm like, man, and this dude he was like a security guard sort of deal or something on the side or something, but he was a big dude, especially I wasn't that big back then. So the boys are ribbing me all week long. Oh, you got to wrestle. I think his name was Armadito. You got to wrestle Armadito again. He's going to stretch your ass. He's going to stretch your ass. So here I am again at, early 20s or 20. I don't even think I could drink in Puerto Rico. Yeah, I was like 20 still. And so I'm thinking, I am not getting my ass kicked here in Puerto Rico. It's not going to happen. So can I straight up whoop him? I'm not sure. So there was this bar that hung over the ocean right down from where we lived, and it's called the Blue Dolphin. And I went down there that night, and I sat out there, and the matches didn't start till 9. So, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm going down to the Blue Dolphin, sitting there contemplating on, okay, how's this going to go tonight, having a few drinks. And I come up with the idea of I'm going to put icy hot on my fingers, I'm going to stick in his fucking eyes, I'm going to whoop shit out of him. Yeah. So I put it on there like you would on your toothpaste. Put a ice on. I dug that shit, and I told him. First of all, I told him to take my arm, and when he did, I took my right hand, I dug that shit in his eyes, and I just started fucking knucking his ass. We're talking cuts on his face, just hitting him. And so he gets out of the ring. Match is over. Referee throws this thing out. None of this, this is a straight up shoot. And the people knew it because they were going crazy. Me and Jamie were kind of hyped, and this dude rolls out of the ring, he's bleeding. So he goes back to the back. Me and Jamie go back to the back. It's like pandemonium sort of. And I'll never forget, we all of a sudden, and a couple of the Puerto Rican baby or heels that was in our dressing room were not happy with me. Amigo, you cheated. And so I'm thinking, okay, now are they going to jump on me now? So then we look out into the arena, and there's, I swear to God, probably about 15 to 20 cops with those fucking helmets and those clear shields. Yeah. And we're thinking, what the fuck, man, this rent-a-cop guy's got some friends, or because he's Puerto Rican and we're American, and all the stories, everything was just rushing through your head at that point.
Right.
Jamie goes and hides in the bathroom and pulls his feet up on the stall. It's a funny thing, but I could know where he was coming from. I mean, he pulled his feet up so you couldn't see his feet. He's going,
right.
I ain't going, because we think they're there for us. Well,
yeah.
What had really happened was this dude goes back to the dressing room on his side, and he pulls out a gun, and he says to Victor, the promoter, Joe Vico, he says, I killed the Wolfie. So Victor called the cops to protect me and Jamie from getting shot.
Right.
So the police escort us to our car. I think we had a driver. To our car, takes us back to our hotel room.
Yeah.
We went to bed, and the very next morning, and I could feel this and see it like a scene out of a movie, man. It was early. I got to that payphone. It was right outside the hotel, and it was pouring down rain. And I'm standing in the rain, and I called Dutch. And I said, man, what should I do? He said, Wolfie, I don't got your back on this. And he said, if you wouldn't icy hot him, I'd have your back. Just been a shoot, but you put icy hot in a man's eyes. And I said, all right.
Right.
I hung up the phone, took my ass to the airport, and flew home. And everybody that's been down there, I've heard it from Savio Vega, I've heard it from Flash Flanagan, I've heard it from Bushwhacker, who was always a booker down there. Apparently, these guys, and I guess Jamie was still there at the same time. He didn't leave when I left.
Right.
But they came to the hotel, him and his dad, because he went home, and his dad, Hispanic people, the machismo type thing, all that. They came looking for me. His daddy said, you let this little motherfucker do that to you? I don't know if that was the exact words, but that was the basic reasoning behind coming looking for me.
Sure.
And so I can't say whether they're going to just beat me up, whether they're going to kidnap me, whether they're going to kill me. I don't know, but I'm glad I left, and I never went back.
Yeah. I mean, you brought it up, but earlier they killed one of the legit toughest wrestlers ever.
Oh, yeah.
Brody,
and got away with it.
So, yeah. So, and who's to say that they wouldn't do the same to you? And I think that's the right call. That to me, I think, Wolfie, for this episode, I think this is going to be a beautiful stopping point here. I think that brings us through 94. 93, 94, we have the start of the PG-13, what I would consider the rise of PG-13. 95, you've got Tommy, you've got Doug, you have some other things that involve other initials like
we'll talk about the rock and roll, Smoky Mountain feud, all that stuff. I got a lot left, man. So I can go a while on this.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, too, because I really feel like we've really tapped a vein here, and it's starting to come. So the beauty of that is we've got so much more. But 95, to me, is such a crucial year for PG-13 because you dip your toe in the waters of the WWF. You have a great feud with Tommy and Doug. You have an amazing match and feud with the Rock and Roll that leads to another feud with Tracy and Terry. All around, great. And the USWA Smoky Mountain feud, if you haven't found that, look it up on YouTube. Watch every bit of it. It is every bit worth it. It is one of the things that I consider artistic about our beloved sport of wrestling. So, with that being said, I want to wrap this part up. Now, the cool thing is I want to involve you, a guy that, like we said, admittedly does not watch the current product.
Here comes the hard part, Jimmy.
Yeah, here comes the hard part. All right, Wolfie, we're going to head into current affairs. DJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair. Love it in color.
All right, we're back to current affairs. So the cool thing is we got through your times at PG-13. It ended with that amazing story in Puerto Rico, skin of your teeth. And that kind of leads me to one of the questions. Speaking of skin of your teeth and hardcore situation, in our current episode here, we have a new segment called Current Affairs. And the one that I want to start with is recently there was a death match with one of the most famous guys, his name's Nick Gage, in the current scene, versus Matt Cardona, who was Zack Ryder in WWE. Probably the least hardcore guy you would ever consider. He collects action figures and things like that. So, have you heard anything about this? What do you think about deathmatch wrestling? What's your opinion?
Man, I guess there's a niche for it. And again, things have changed, and maybe what I like ain't what somebody else likes. I think it's stupid. Right. I think it's dangerous. A lot of that stuff you cannot safely do. You're taking a huge risk. You know, have I jumped out of balconies? Have I jumped off top of a cage? Yeah, but I kind of knew, okay, there's this much of a risk, and I was educated and been in long enough to know. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole nother story of I worked for Ian. Me and Jamie worked for Ian one time, and it was a big shoot fight between me and Ox Harley because he hit me with a bat that had tacks all over it. And I told him before I went out there, man, I'm not about that. You know, if it was something where we were drawing money on TV, yeah, okay, whatever, and I'll get off that story because that's a whole long story. But
we'll cover that one later. That's a great one.
I see some of this stuff, and I'm like, what are these guys doing, and how much are they making? I mean, I know that I guess that same guy, did he not just wrestle Jericho and something about a pizza cutter? I've seen that on Facebook.
Yeah, he just did it on AEW as well.
So at that level, okay, I know Jericho's making money, and maybe that guy, you know, is making money too. And if it's drawing money, okay, yeah, but I don't feel that. And quite frankly, the pizza cutter thing is nothing to me. I mean, it was probably just dull and rolled across his head. But all that light bulb and, you know, just some of that just dumb shit for 100 people and no payday is stupid. I mean, it's just dumb.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, Nick Cage has cut himself so deep. I've seen in other episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, they showed a segment where he almost died before he got to the ambulance because he had cut himself so deep with razor wire, I think, or maybe it was a light bulb. Anyway, and I was a kid. You know, my dad owned a store here in our hometown, and when I was a kid, my brother and I used to throw away the bad light bulbs. Well, of course, we thought it was cool to be like lightsabers, and we would smash them into each other. And then the powder comes out of those, and you can't control that, you know?
Right.
And
and isn't that, you know, like kind of somewhat poisonous or something? Or
it probably is. I
thought I'd heard that. I don't know. I've never been hit with a fucking light bulb because no. I mean, I just nope.
Yeah. Well, you know, some of the guys, like my mentor in the business, Ken Still, who rest in peace, he told me, he said, there's not an independent promoter that can pay me enough to bleed. He says, you know, because first of all, it has to mean something, and it should be at the end of something, not at the beginning. And second of all, you don't know who you're with in that ring, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and that was another thing that came into play, you know, AIDS epidemic. That's when that all started changing. Wrestlers used to bleed all the time, but then it started being a thing. I remember WWE, and that was part of that reason of the story I told you about getting in the shoot with Ox, is because when we were working for WWE at the time, and there was a policy of no bleeding. So if you're going to work an indie show, do not bleed. I told him that.
Exactly.
I said, don't do that to me. You know, I said, if you want to hit me with a chair, stop sign, whatever, blunt objects, I'm completely okay with that. I said, but like I said, we'll get into that one because that started out bad from the get-go.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is everybody should go to Warren Wolf on Facebook and be his friend. Wolfie D posted a video of it, and everything was a match until he whacks you with that bat, and then it's live round time.
But if you really watch from the get-go, like me and him, I don't know who he thought he was, or it was kind of one of those deals about Wolfie D, you ain't shit type of things, jealousy deal. Yeah. But me and Ox are cool now. I can say this in confidence. We're cool. But we went out there. You could tell nobody wanted to sell for each other, and it was not a straight shoot, but it was stiff. And I didn't want to give him nothing. He didn't want to give me nothing. But then when the bat came into play, and then I smacked him in the face with it, shit got real.
Well, you know, and that's so true. You can watch it, and I can see it turn. And you grab the bat, and then it's live rounds, and I'm like, okay, it's on now. Yeah. So, you know, and the other thing, I think I heard Ricky Morton say this, in a death match, you call it a death match, so that means the guy who loses has to die, you know. So if they don't die, is it really a death match, you know?
Right.
But anyway, Matt Cardona, like I said, he's like a New York guy. He clearly came out the victor on that, but of course that's a push for that GCW company, I'm sure. But anyway, to see him in a death match was pretty surprising. So my second current affair, and this one is going to probably evoke a story that will make us all laugh here, is recently a former UFC fighter, a former UFC contender, signed with the new AEW promotion by the name of CM Punk. Now, I know you've been around Mr. Punk during the times in TNA.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? Why would they do that? You know, is he still a draw, in your opinion?
I don't know. I never got, but see, I'll say again, like, when he was getting pushed, I never really looked at it, so I can't give you a super honest opinion. What I can tell you is, when he was with TNA, it was Raven and him and Julio De Niro against my clique, the Disciples. Yeah. And they brought him in, and it was some kid in some basketball shorts, and, I mean, he was a decent worker. I mean, obviously, I mean, you know, I guess he was green at that point. I didn't know him from Adam. I worked with him a little bit, but I didn't. Yeah. It's not like I was like, oh, this kid's going to be a star. So, and then, you know, I kind of got out of business after that for a few years or whatnot. So I don't really know where the glory of him came from or who was the mastermind to making that, because sometimes that's the key. Right. Sometimes you have to have somebody coaching you, or, you know, or maybe he ended up being that good. I don't know. I know that I didn't watch his UFC fight. Heard that he got beat up.
Wasn't much.
I think that
wasn't much.
I do think, even though the people know the difference between UFC and pro wrestling, I still think it hurts you. And then the way he's acted, from what I've seen, is very prima donna-ish. Very prima donna-ish. He didn't have that long of a run, and to me, become that big of a household name where he has any right to dictate shit, in my opinion. Right. But that's probably super old school of me of, hey, Punk, pay your dues. You know what I'm saying? So, sure, of course. But I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, I've watched one episode of AEW because I wanted to see what it was all about when it first came on, and I ended up turning it off. And no offense to anybody that's there. It's just, like I said, again, it's not what I signed up for. It's not what entertained me and made me, you know, be the somewhat, you know, some of these guys made millions more dollars than I have, but I also feel like I had a good career, and there's some of them that have made that money that I could work circles around. And that's not being cocky, that's just being real.
No, but I will say this, just as a partial co-representative of the Wolfie D here, if the AEW ever wants to make the Pizze correct, maybe Wolfie D can come up there and be a coach for some of those tag teams or some of those wrestlers up there. I think we're always open to that, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that we didn't tap into this, but this was actually later than where we were on this episode, was I worked as the trainer for USWA on Sundays at the mansion for a few years there. Actually, I broke James Storm into the business. A few others that did well in the indies, but he was my most successful. Then I had my wrestling school, you remember there, and at TJ's, stuff like that. I was good at it.
You would see commercials for it during Raw. Yeah. I know Chris kind of took it over when you moved, but anyway, I remember you having the school there. It was awesome. And another thing about AEW is it sounds like maybe Daniel Bryan is in there. I can't see that happening with the Bellas having their own reality show and him being on that. I don't know that that's going to happen, but anyway, there's possibility of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan being there. So,
and brother, it's hard, man. That Vince machine it's hard to go up against that. That is what common folk know. Some people that aren't wrestling fans, whatever, they don't even use the word wrestling. They say WWE. Right. That's like trying to go up, and that's why it never works. It's like trying to go up against the NFL. Right, exactly. People don't say football. They say NFL. You know, you're trying to defeat an empire, man. Right. Yeah. And that's, the other thing. And I can't wait to even ask you about your interactions with the upper management of WWE. We'll get there
Don't worry, folks. I can't wait. My third question of current events is your old stomping grounds, which has evolved into now what's called Impact. They shoot in Nashville every 6 weeks or so, and they have really seemed to put out some money there. Do you ever have any contact with anybody there anymore? Have they ever talked to you about coming back, maybe on one of those? You know, they used to do those shows with all the.
I did go back on one of those. I did one of those. Me and Sin Bodie went down and represented the new church on I think a 2000 pay-per-view. To see me and Brian Lee. I had a few different partners during that run. Me and Brian Lee were the ones that really clicked and made we got the tag titles and big AMW feud and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, great.
But they sent us back, man, and it was such a horrible environment on that pay-per-view. This was a point when I'm not, because like, again, I kind of wasn't keeping up with it, but Al Snow called me. Sure. He's like, hey, we're doing this thing of pay-per-view. I was hurt because I was still wrestling at the time, but I was hurt and getting into that point where I'm about to quit because my body's killing me. Yeah. And at first I said, Al, I can't, man. I said I'd love to, but I can't. I said I'm right now laying in bed hurt, and I said it ain't worth it. So I hung up the phone, and I sat there for about 5 minutes. And I thought, man, this is probably my last. Not to say that it was going to start a run, but this would be my last opportunity to start a run.
Right.
And I called it back, and I said, I'll be ready. It was like, man, I can't remember. It was like 4 or 6 weeks out. It was those one-night stand things, and we worked LAX, and I'm gonna tell you, we didn't, and this is a pay-per-view. Everybody's walking around, all slumpy faced and all this, and I'm there, and Sin's there thinking this is our chance to get a job here, and these guys, and no offense to either one of them, and we got out there and did what we could. I think little bad attitudes, they worked every night. I don't know, maybe they were hurt. I don't know. I hate because you never know what's going through another guy's mind or how they've been treated there or anything like that. I know it wasn't their best effort. And we didn't even speak to them, swear to God, till about, 15 minutes before walking through the curtain at a pay-per-view. So I was let down. I felt like, as a wrestler, I salvaged as much of, not like I saved a match or anything. That's not what I'm saying. Salvaged the way I looked, because the marks don't know that match got shit on, and it really hurt my feelings because I was like, if you motherfuckers, because a lot of people didn't even know I was Slash. They don't know that was Wolfie D, and whatever. And some of the newer people at that year, my shit goes back far. So if you just became a fan, in 2010, and this is 2013, you see this team come out there, that's your first impression. And I want to be able to say to some of those people, no, that's not what I can do. So that one, I hated that. I really hated that match.
Yeah. Does Al even have contact with him anymore? I know they kind of went all Canadian for a while, and then
I'm not even positive on that.
Yeah. I remember I almost ran Al off the road. I was driving out in West Nashville going to my job, and Al's in his car. He was probably going to Memphis or something, and I'm driving by him waving, and he's like looking at me like, who is this nut? And I just I couldn't believe it. I saw Al Snow in the car right next to me. I had to wave, and he's like, what are you doing, man? And he waved back. Kind of how that face Al makes, that he's done it on TV, and he's like, what? Anyway,
that was a funny dude.
Thank you. Yeah, he is hilarious, and we're going to get into stories with him too. So really leaving it there, those are a few questions I had about current events. Thank you so much, Wolfie, for again giving us your time today. We do have some events coming up for you. I know August 15th, a signing in Memphis. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the folks today?
Nothing else right now. If they want 8x10s, hit me up on Facebook. You gave my Facebook, Warren Wolf.
Yeah.
That's helping me out.
Contact through the. Yeah, contact
the podcast
page, and I'll put it directly to Wolfie, and he will get those pictures out there. He has 4 to choose from, and they're amazing. Honestly, if you catch Wolfie with this autograph, there's James Mitchell, there's Brian Lee, and another one. You see them at a convention. There's one with JC Ice in it. You can catch him at another signing. You guys are going to be in New York soon with a ton of Hall of Famers and famous people.
Yeah, that's November. There's actually 2 shows on that. We'll be there for 3 days. We're doing something on a Friday. I don't have my itinerary at this point. I just know the logistics and money and all that stuff. But
yeah, man,
I know what we're doing.
We'll have it now. And again, we'll figure out exactly the dates on your upcoming haunted house appearance too.
Yeah.
But other than that, visit us on Facebook, Live and in Color with Wolfie D Podcast. Visit us on Twitter @Live Wolfie D. Visit us on YouTube, Live and in Color with Wolfie D. And always remember, we're on all your podcast formats. Thank you guys for listening so much. Thanks again, Wolfie D.
Yes, Jimmy, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jarrett, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is The Big Picture, Michael Jablonski. Don't forget to tune in every week to Jablonski's Pissed Off on the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling YouTube channel.
The hot in the sport, he's gonna tell you all about it. He doesn't care what you think, you're gonna hear all about it. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. Mike Jablonski, he's so pissed off. He's pissed off.
In a world that has been completely divided for so long, 2 movie fans have decided to unite for the people and the betterment of mankind. One, an action movie buff. The other, a horror movie fanatic. Together, they will try to bridge the gap of both genres into one podcast with their battle cry, Give Me Back My Action and Horror Movies. Listen along as Charlie and Nate alternate each week talking about action and horror movies they cherish, mostly from the VHS era. Also, including some modern examples that felt like the movies they grew up with by answering the battle cry, Give Me Back My Action and Horror Movies. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
He
got a cap for your dome.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color. From rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are, without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. Gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. Huh. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.